Welcome to Inside the Capitol, your weekly update on what's going on in Minnesota state government through a Catholic lens and ways that you can advocate for human dignity and the common good.
God, we ask for peace, for shalom, for salam.
This week, Catholics joined their voices with those from a variety of faiths to advocate at the Capitol. Over 400 people came together to the Joint Religious Legislative Coalition Annual Day on the Hill. Before heading to the Capitol, Bishop Andrew Cousins started the event by celebrating Mass at St. Louis, King of France in St. Paul. Attendees then gathered at Central Presbyterian, where they heard from keynote speaker Rabbi David Lockitz of Minnetonka, who spoke on the universal call to help those in need.
In the book of Proverbs, we are commanded to not just give to the poor among us. We have to do more.
The morning session also included music from the Street Song Choir. The choir consists of members who are currently or formerly homeless and those who care about them. Issues surrounding homelessness and poverty were brought into focus during the Advocacy Day on the Hill.
One of our big issues is bonding for affordable housing because there are a significant number of people who are homeless who can't find places to live in the communities where they work. We did a lot of work around fees and fines so that people who get a fine that they can't pay don't end up losing their license and end up unable to work. Done some work around childcare, especially for homeless families, because it's pretty difficult to look for a job if you don't have somewhere for your kids to be. Talked about tax policy, but mostly we want to help people develop a relationship with their legislators.
To build those relationships, teams of advocates met with their legislators to share their stories and raise awareness of bills that can make a positive change.
We've been called from way back in the Old Testament up until today, with Pope Francis telling us that a good Catholic meddles in politics. We're called to work on changing the world and helping people feel the merciful love of God.
You too can learn to be a faithful citizen. Join the Minnesota Catholic Conference for Capital 101, our advocacy training sessions on April 17th. Head to mncatholic.org for details and to register for this free event. We also want to update you on a piece of legislation that many advocates are bringing to the attention of their legislators, the Surrogacy Abuse Prevention Act. This bill is awaiting a possible hearing in the House and Senate. As we await action on this legislation, it is important that legislators hear from you to support it. This week, we spoke with the bill's House author, Representative Anna Wills, who says there are currently no state regulations on commercial surrogacy, leaving women and children unprotected from abuses.
Surrogacy arrangements can go wrong. There can be custody battles. There can be situations where the intended parents want the surrogate to abort a child, or if there are multiples, to abort one of the children, a process called selective reduction. And as someone who is strongly pro-life, that issue is really important to me, and making sure that the women know what they're getting into and that they don't have to be forced to have an abortion, that they have that freedom and that right.
This brings us to this week's Action Alert. You can help protect women, children, and couples from the abuses of commercial surrogacy. Visit mncatholic.org/Action Center and click on the Surrogacy Abuse Prevention Act banner. There, you can send a message to your legislator via email, Twitter, or Facebook. You can also call them and ask for their support. Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Inside the Capitol. Make sure you share this video with your friends. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and join us next week for another edition of Inside the Capitol.